Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Happy New Year, folks. And after a week-long sabbatical, Graves on Gridiron is back. Did the festive season deliver joy, or did your NFL team of choice hand you heartbreak? Whichever way it went, it all comes down to this. One last week of the regular season, and one question to be answered. Who will prevail? The Broncos, Patriots, and Jags go into the final week of the season, all vying for the number one seed in the AFC. In the NFC, it's a shootout in the early hours of Sunday morning UK time between the Seahawks and Niners in San Francisco for the number one seed in the playoffs, while Carolina can actually lose to the Buccaneers on Saturday night and still win the NFC South with a little help from New Orleans. Outside of that, the Ravens are still alive and have the chance to clinch the final playoff spot in the very last game of the regular season on Sunday Night Football. It all comes down to one last game, so let's turn the page and look ahead to Week 18 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to Graves on Gridiron. It's great to be back with you as we turn the page into a new year, 2026. Still much to be decided in the final week of the season. Whilst hopes may have been shattered for some lively contenders, there are some fresh faces already who have booked their place in the postseason this time around. But who will go on to compete at Super Bowl 60 at Levi Stadium in San Francisco? As for the show, the last time we were with you just before Christmas, we had Daggers on the show, and it didn't go that well for us because our record on the season now stands at a rather meek and lowly 20, 25 and 2. That means even with a perfect final week of the regular season, we won't make it to an even 500 record, but we will do our best. And we're going to start in the NFC West with the Arizona Cardinals going to the LA Rams. The Cardinals with a 3-13 record. The Rams are 11-5, and they are 7.5-point favorites coming into this game. And looking on the face of it, due to last week's loss for the Rams, you'd think maybe there isn't a lot to play for and the Rams might decide to rest their starters. Well, we'll know a lot more by the time kickoff comes around because the LA Rams will have one eye on that division rivalry slot going on Saturday night, early hours of Sunday morning UK time, because right now as things stand, it's the Seattle Seahawks who would progress as the number one seeded team from the NFC, but just one game back of them are the San Francisco 49ers. And by virtue of their head-to-head matchup results, if the 49ers are to prevail on Saturday night, they will leapfrog the Seattle Seahawks and they will take the number one seed in the NFC as NFC West champions. What that would mean is that the LA Rams, as I'm trying to do the computation, would then think, well, okay, here we go. Now we've got an opportunity to perhaps clinch the number 5 seed in the NFC playoffs. And that would mean there'd be something on the line here in a game, frankly, that they should win. Let's not forget, when these two teams last met in LA, the Rams had their way with the Cardinals. They thrashed them 45 points to 17. That's just a month ago. Over the course of this season, the Cardinals shot out of the gate. They were 2-0 through the first 2 weeks. Since then, they have gone 1-13. Now, I know they've had their issues. Their starting quarterback, Kyler Murray, was injured. But even when he was, by consensus, in a position where he could return, the Cardinals declared that Jacoby Brissett would remain their starting quarterback. So this is an organization which have got problems that they need to resolve and find answers to in the offseason. Brissett, he might have appeared on the face of it to give them a better chance on offense, but his record isn't even as good as Kyler Murray's this season. That one win that he was at the helm for was in Dallas at the midway point of the season. The rest of them, they've won, and they've found they've lost rather, and they've found different ways to lose these games. So you look at the 3 games they've won this season. They beat the Saints in week 1, beat the Panthers week 2, beat the Dallas Cowboys on the road. They have a decision to be made at quarterback. Will we find out any more from this matchup? I doubt it. I think the organization is probably clear in its own mind as to where their future lies, and indeed whether it lies outside of what they currently have in the building. Now, for the LA Rams, Monday Night Football turned their aspirations on its head. A stunning 27-24 loss in Atlanta to the Falcons. Of more concern will be the way Bijan Robinson played, ripping off a 90-plus yard TD run. He had over 200 yards from the line of scrimmage, over 190 on the ground. He finished the night with 2 touchdowns. That gave the Falcons control in the game, and ultimately it meant that they went on to win that game with, realistically, nothing to play for. They can't make the playoffs. Now, the Rams can't reach the number 1 seed, but they can finish second in the NFC West, and that would give them the number 5 seed in the playoffs. It would mean a trip on the road in the wildcard round, but who knows what can happen in the postseason. It could mean that somewhere down the line, they could have the opportunity to come back to SoFi Stadium. There was no Devontae Adams, of course, in that loss to the Falcons. He was missing through injury. Puka Nacua was still sensational, but for a review at the end of the game, very nearly pulled off what would have been the catch of the season without competition for me. It didn't happen. They lost the game. They now find themselves in a position where they're battling for a seeding and position in the wildcard positions in the NFC half of the playoff bracket. I think they win this game, regardless of what goes on in San Francisco between the 49ers and Seahawks. I think Sean McVay's Rams handle their division rivals, the Arizona Cardinals. A 3-13 record speaks for itself. I know they've had their own injury issues, but this is an organization right now in disarray, looking for answers to an awful lot of questions. That is not an issue for the LA Rams. This is a good team, a good group of players. They've proved it time and time again. And importantly, they've got a quarterback in Matthew Stafford who knows how to handle business. He's trodden this path before and gone all the way just a handful of years ago with this LA Rams organization. He will put them in the best possible position going into the postseason. 7.5 points, you say, on the road? It's going to be 2 scores, and I don't have any doubt about that. Give me the Rams to cover at minus 7.5. Okay, 1 game down, 2 to go. Where do we go next? You'll find out in a few short moments. Don't go away.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back to Graves on Gridiron, our final week of the regular season being previewed on our Week 18 preview show. We've already had a look at an NFC West matchup between the Cardinals and Rams. A quick correction there. I did say earlier that game was in Arizona. It's not. It's in LA. It's in the Rams' own house. 7.5 point favorites. Are you kidding me? Take the Rams all day long in that particular matchup. Where do we go next? We are going to go to Chicago, the surprise package of this season for me, the 11-5 Chicago Bears taking on the 8-8 Detroit Lions. The Lions, with a 500 record, many people's preseason tips to be the Super Bowl contenders coming out of the NFC. They aren't even going to be in the postseason this time around. But this is an interesting matchup. The Bears are 2.5-point favorites coming into this game. No prizes for guessing why. The Lions did, though, handle this team in the reverse matchup in week 2. Remember that game when Dan Campbell refused to take his foot off the accelerator, making a point, many feel, to his former offensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. The Lions ran out 52-21 winners in that game in Detroit, Michigan. And many people, me included at the time, thought, here we go, same old Lions, they are going to motor. It has not been the case for this Detroit team. They've lost 3 straight games. They hadn't lost back-to-back games in 2 years prior to this 3-game losing run. And that defeat last Thursday night, Christmas night, to the Minnesota Vikings, 23 points to 10, was incredibly worrying because this high-octane, high-powered offense was completely shut down by the Brian Flores-led defense for the Vikings. And they didn't exactly have a massive artillery themselves on offense, but they had enough to handle the Detroit Lions. And we've seen this in several games this year, which is going to be a concern for the organization, certainly a concern for Dan Campbell. And you have to believe that it'll instigate change going into the offseason. And you look at what the Lions have done this year, and the numbers look all right on offense. 6th overall, 5th in passing, 3rd in scoring. They're averaging a lick under 29 points a game. The surprise, look at their rushing offense. 15th in the NFL when you have David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs at tailback. And Gibbs has had another stellar season. This two-headed monster has been an issue, but by virtue of issues on the offensive line, issues in the receiving game with injuries to key receivers, I think in the second half of the season, it's allowed defenses to focus a little bit more on trying to find answers to the run game and the problems that poses for them when they come up against Detroit. And that's been reflected in the stats. They're averaging 119.9 yards a game on the ground. It is not bad, but it's certainly enough to make them change their offensive game plan. And now you come up against a Bears team who have just got better and better as the season has gone on, and they're coming into this with a point to prove off the back of a gut-wrenching loss in a wildly entertaining game on Sunday Night Football when they came up just short to the San Francisco 49ers. 42-39 in the end was that result, and it put pay just about to their number 1 seed hopes in the NFC as well. 42-38, I should say, was the final score in that San Francisco game. But look at their record. And I've said this and flagged this up because I think it's relevant for the Chicago Bears. 11-5 isn't to be sniffed at. But you go back to when they had their most recent run. It's 2 defeats now, going back to November the 2nd. They won in Cincinnati. They won against the New York Giants. They won in Minnesota. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. The marquee win came on Thanksgiving week when they won in Philadelphia 24-15. They lost to the Green Bay Packers in a close game. They beat the Cleveland Browns, handling on the road 31-3. Then a depleted Packers team. They won in overtime at home on December the 20th. And then they lost a close one on the road last time out to the San Francisco 49ers. My point is, when I go through those matchups, who have you beaten, really? Good win on the road in the Link against the reigning Super Bowl champions, but it's well documented my concerns about the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, coming into Week 18, we've just come off the back of a second game this season when not only has Jalen Hurts not had positive numbers in terms of passing yards in the second half, he didn't even complete a pass in the second half, albeit in victory over the Buffalo Bills. That's 2 games now this season when Jalen Hurts has neither completed a pass and by consequence of that had any passing yards in the second half of games. I'm sorry, I don't care what you think of the Philadelphia Eagles. They are not winning the Super Bowl with this offense this time around because they just go missing. It just goes missing too many times, and you cannot afford to have that when you're going on a Super Bowl run in the playoffs. So it's a good win on the road. Take nothing away from the Chicago Bears. They pulled it out, played well on the night. However, It's not the win that it might appear on paper. And then the Green Bay Packers game was another entertaining game. But of course, Jordan Love went down injured. So that's got a question mark over it. So I'm saying, who have you beaten really? A banged up Cincinnati team, the New York Giants, who've had all sorts of issues, the Minnesota Vikings, again, had all sorts of issues with injury. Cleveland, none of these stand out for me. Look, I hear what the critics are going to say. Well, look at the strength of schedule. It's not great. You can only beat the teams that are in front of you. And the Chicago Bears have taken advantage of that without question. They are an improved team. They're an improved organization, and they're playing better football now. But are they playing good enough football to be what their record says they are? And I'm going to upset a lot of people here by saying, in my opinion, no, they are not. And the Lions might be 8-8, and they might have injury issues on both sides of the ball, and they might not have lived it up to expectations this time around. But I still think they're a good team, and I still think they've got a point to prove. There's that friendly rivalry between Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. You know Ben Johnson's going to want to avenge that heavy loss in week 2. Equally, make no mistake, Dan Campbell and his Detroit Lions team, the one that are going to bite your kneecaps, they're going to keep getting up, they're going to scrap, they're going to fight, they're going to find a way to it. They go back to being that team this weekend in Chicago. The Bears might be going to the postseason. The Lions are going to lay down a marker for next season. The Lions are 2.5-point dogs on the road. Give me Detroit. Give me the Detroit Lions, not only to cause the upset and win the game, but by virtue of that, they'll cover at plus 2.5. Okay, bring us on the third and final game of our regular season previews. And it's a biggie. It's one for all the marbles in the AFC North. It will decide the last playoff spot and who takes it from this 2025 regular season. The Baltimore Ravens, with an 8-8 record, go to their division foes, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who 2 weeks ago seemed to have the division tied up in the bag. The playoff berth was theirs. At 9-7, it's in the balance. The Steelers are 3.5-point dogs on the road. Why is that, I hear you ask? Well, two things. TJ Watt, their star pass rusher, he's been missing for the last 3 games. Remember, he had to have surgery on a collapsed lung. At best, he's described as a long shot to make it for this game. I wouldn't rule him out, but he's a long shot to make it. So even if he does make it, his snap count is going to be heavily limited. His impact, it's going to be minimal, you would think, but do not rule him out. A bigger loss for the Steelers team is very much star wide receiver DK Metcalf. If you didn't see it over the Christmas period, he had an altercation with a Lions fan in the stands. That resulted in him getting a 2-game ban, a ban which rules him out for the final 2 games of the regular season. And ultimately, that proved costly last weekend as they went down to the Cleveland Browns by 13 points to 6. And this came after wins in Baltimore, at home to Miami, and in Detroit. 3 straight wins that put the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Aaron Rodgers, in A1 position to take the AFC North and take a place in the postseason. One inconceivable loss last weekend to the Browns has blown it wide open. The Ravens went into Green Bay, took advantage of their injury issues, got the win. And it all means now that if Baltimore can go into Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football and get the win, then they, not the Steelers, by virtue of tiebreakers, will be heading to the postseason. You're asking me, is there a chance? You're telling me there's still a possibility? You're damn right there's a possibility. It's all on the line here. All the marbles are at stake. The Ravens are still alive. 41-24. They went into Lambeau Field and won last weekend. Now comes the dose of reality. Before that, they'd lost 3 of their last 4. They'd lost at home to the Bengals. They'd lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'd lost to the New England Patriots. Their lone win on the road to the Bengals. They didn't have their star MVP quarterback from last season, Lamar Jackson, last time out when they won in Green Bay, which makes that win all the more impressive, incidentally. He suffered a back contusion in the loss to New England. He wasn't able to practice at all last week. His status at the time of recording this podcast is up in the air, but it has been pointed out his back injury appears to be getting better. Is it good enough for him to play this Sunday? We're not going to find out till much nearer the game. I'm going to be controversial here. Even if he is cleared to play the game, I think Tyler Huntley gives them a better chance to win this game. Well, whatever you think of Lamar Jackson, this season he's been playing banged up. It's clearly affected his ability to pull the ball down and run, and that's a huge part of his game. And it's a huge part of what the opposition has to do when they're planning to play the Ravens offense. Last weekend, Tyler Huntley, he might not be the quarterback Lamar Jackson is, but when healthy last weekend and having that mobility, it opened up things in the running game for Derrick Henry. What did we see? We saw 36 carries for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns. King Henry is given that title for a reason. You open running lanes, he will drive a bus right through them. That's what he did last weekend in Green Bay. That's what gave the Ravens the victory. And it's what's put Baltimore in a position to have a fighting chance to go to the postseason this time around. Will it be enough this weekend? I can't tell you right now. We need to know a lot more health-wise about the state of both the Ravens and the Steelers. Steelers 3.5-point underdogs at home. I think it's going to be a one-score game. It might come down to the team that holds the ball last that wins it. What I do know is we previewed this reverse matchup just before Christmas, and I said, look at the total points line for that game. These are two defenses which are not good. Let's look at the Ravens first of all. Total yards, they ranked 25th overall, 29th against the pass. They're decent against the run, top 10, ranked exactly 10th. 18th in points allowed, giving up 23 points a game. The Steelers, ranked 27th overall, 30th against the pass. Again, they're stout against the run, ranked 11th in the NFL, 15th in points allowed at 22.7. There's going to be points in this game, folks. Whichever way it goes, there's too much on the line for there not to be. So I look at the points line for this, 41. Talk about hedging your bets. Look, when there's so much on the line and you've only got one chance to do it, you leave it all on the field. That is what we're going to see on Sunday Night Football when the Ravens and Steelers go to lock horns in Pittsburgh, and we're going to see points on the board. Give me the over. Over 41 points total in this game. Who's going to win it? Your guess is as good as mine, but I can't wait. So take the over on that line, and we will recap the 3 games we've previewed going into the final week of the NFL's regular season, Week 18. We started in LA with the LA Rams, 7.5-point favorites at home to the Cardinals. Are you kidding me? Give me the Rams to cover at 7.5, at minus 7.5. Then it's on to Chicago. Big NFC North game. Lions going to the Bears. Divisional rivalry, personal battles to be resolved as well. The Lions are 2.5-point dogs on the road. I do not believe yet in the Chicago Bears. So Chicago, prove me wrong if you can. I'm not believing you right now. Give me the Lions at plus 2.5. Before we finish, in Pittsburgh, Ravens Steelers Sunday Night Football, final game of the regular season, decides the last team to go to the playoffs. We're going to see points on the board in this. They delivered the over the last time they met. They'll do it again on Sunday night. Give me over 41 points for this game. As I always say, folks, it's about enjoyment first and foremost. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I hope you enjoy the entertainment the National Football League puts on offer this weekend. Remember, there are a couple of games on Saturday night as well going into Week 18. An important one between the Panthers and Buccaneers in Tampa. Lots to be resolved there. The Buccaneers can win and still miss out. But if they get help from elsewhere, well, they might be going in as well. That's a 9:30 game UK time on Saturday night. The big one for the number 1 seed, potentially in the NFC, comes at 1 a.m. Sunday morning UK time. Seattle go to San Francisco. It's the Seahawks against 49ers. And then elsewhere, our 3 games to recap again. Give me the Rams to cover at minus 7.5 when they host the Arizona Cardinals. Give me the Lions as 2.5-point dogs to cover at plus 2.5 in Chicago. And then give me the over total points, over 41 for the Ravens and Steelers in the final matchup of the Week 18 slate of games. That is all for this episode of Graves on Gridiron, folks. The next time you hear from me, we'll be looking ahead to Wildcard Weekend in the playoffs. I hope you're looking forward to what goes down this weekend. It's the final time for many of us we'll get to see our teams in action until September. So sit back, enjoy, and let's hope for more of the same as the NFL delivers entertainment once again, and we return next week on Graves on Gridiron. So long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts. And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1. That's Richard Graves, the number 1.